Hey guys, Tyrip here, and today we're taking a look at the Winter Balance Preview version 1.2 and 1.3. Starting out with heavy tanks, the Tiger AOE is getting reduced. The near AOE damage is going down, and a similar story here. The AOE distance for near and mid is also going down. So what this is going to do is lower the one-hit kill radius of the Tiger, just make it a little bit less wipey. On top of that, the Panzer Commander upgrade is being removed from the OKW Tiger. So in Grand Offensive Commander, you will no longer be able to get the Panzer Commander upgrade. And similar story here, the Vet 2 scatter bonus is being removed. So we've seen, the Grand Offensive Tiger just dominating the meta game at the moment, kind of like a one unit counters everything. The self-spotting from the Panzer Commander, the artillery dropped on AT guns, forcing them to move. Just everything kind of combining, making that unit much too strong. The AoE, the wiping, and once it got to Vet 2 for wiping, the scatter bonus was just crazy for wiping units. And really good against tanks as well, because you have the self-spotting with a very high accuracy, very good against tank destroyers that have to manage that 10 range difference very accurately, which is tough for everything but SU-85. So yeah, a lot of changes here to the Tiger, but a similar story now for the IS-2, which is also getting its AoE reduced in a similar fashion. Okay, so we're taking a look at the revised Tiger AoE here. We've got three pretty standard spaced conscript squads. See how the Tiger's main gun alone goes against them. See if we can notice much of a difference. We'll do one spread out, and then we'll do one more tightly bunched up. Alright, we get it. You can shoot at this exact point. So what I'm learning is, what we might be noticing more is the Vet 2 scatter buff getting removed in the AoE buff itself. Because this thing is overshooting like crazy. No, this is just the main gun though, Add a machine gun into the equation. Things a little bit more lethal. So it seems like what we've learnt is the Tiger seems quite prone to overshooting long. Seems to be a recurring theme throughout all of these engagements. Standing by. If you got the wherewithal, it might be best to try and attack ground slightly towards the front of the squad. Yeah, it does, to me, it seems less lethal, honestly. Not by a huge margin though, I don't think. But yeah, I think what will be missed the most is the Vet 2 scatter bonus. When the Tiger hits Vet 2 now, I feel like it'll be a lot less lethal. So now the Tiger is a slightly more bunched up squad, say their sandbag just died. I feel like in the past that shot then would have done a lot more damage. Similar story with that shot then, I feel like that would have got the wipe in the past. Okay. Well, to me, this definitely feels like a noticeable AoE decrease. I thought it was going to be a little bit less than this, but I feel like it will be noticed, for sure. Changes to the Tiger's AoE. I wonder what the IS-2 has in store for us. Alright, now some AoE testing for the IS-2. Just some fault screen ideas, see how it goes. Vendetta against that model, didn't he? But to me, it does seem like the IS2 AOE does seem a little bit stronger, which I think it is, given the stats. Of course, these are pretty small sample sizes, you know, both these tests, just shooting at 3 squads, trying to eyeball it, not the most scientific, but worth a look at least. So that's still a pretty good hit, close to direct center on the squad. I think in the past maybe would have taken down the middle model. Maybe done like a tiny bit more damage as well.
Heavy tanks standing by.
And the IS-2 does seem less prone to overshooting from scatter, at least so far in these shots, which is kind of interesting to note. IS-2, yeah, the Tiger was always overshooting. Oh, there we go. Right as I say that. Had to do it to me, didn't you? The IS-2 AOE does seem to be stronger, which I think is reflected by its slower rate of fire. But when it comes to these kind of engagements, usually, you know, the tank's just getting 1 or 2 shots off anyway. So oftentimes rate of fire doesn't matter too much against infantry. It's unlikely you're going to get more than 2 shots off on them before they retreat. So yeah, IS-2 does seem stronger than the Tiger, maybe not quite as badly affected, at least to my eyeballs, but still is a noticeable decrease. Now IS-2 versus some clump squads, sandbags deleted. Not quite a direct hit, but still does about half damage to the squad. Pretty good follow up there. So yeah, the IS-2's main gun does look a lot more reliable against infantry than the Tigers does now, after these changes. Could be just good RNG. And then finally the Churchill Crocodile command point requirements going up to be similar to the other heavy tanks, going from a 9 to 12. Moving on to the British, the air landing officer reinforcement cost is going down from 35 to 30, so pretty big reduction there. I think Panzer Grenadiers are 34 to reinforce, so this is actually relatively cheap, I feel, for its performance. Vet 3 received accuracies going down from 23% to 15%, so a slight nerf to the in-game strength. We saw in my previous video how strong these were once they were fully vetted. But back the other way, the Elite Sten accuracy is going up in the mid-range, so they're going to have quite a lot better accuracy in the mid-range. So this is kind of going to make them a little bit better in the early game, closing the distance, maybe in mid-range engagements, but worse in the late game, which is a common complaint with the performance of the air landing officer earlier in the patch. Too weak early game, too strong late game, so a couple of changes here to try and remedy that. Self-healing at Vet 2 is being removed, and the pop cap is going down from 9 to 8. So yeah, a few changes here to make the air landing officer a little bit stronger in the early game, and a little weaker in the late game. The British medics get a auto search healing toggle, which now routes the squad to the target position, so they won't be running around, or make it easier to use the British medics. We have a demonstration of that now. Alright, so now we're taking a look at the British hold position ability on the medics. As you can see here, once you do that, they can no longer move, but they can also no longer use like the manual heal or like the auto them running over and healing. The way I thought this was going to work would be kind of like British, kind of like Ostheer or Soviet medics, where by activating this they would like always return to this position, but then they would run out to nearby squads to healing. But that's not the case, it's just locking them in place so you can make use of the AOE healing. So as you see, this low health squad coming in here, and they don't run over here and start healing them. Even if you stand like right next to them, they're not going to start healing you. So yeah, it's mainly just so you can make use of the AOE healing. So it does add a little bit of a micro tax to try to use these medics. And yeah, they're still quite buggy. Like if I take this off, even though I'm standing quite nearby, they don't come over here and heal. What I did notice though, but maybe it's because they're facing the wrong direction. I turn around and face in this direction. Do they come over auto heal? Yeah. So it seems to me like somehow these medics, if they are facing the wrong direction, they don't come over and auto heal squads, which seems a little bit weird, but maybe we can actually look into that and get that fixed before the patch comes out. The Commando and HQ glider can now be repaired. A very common complaint for these, that you want to use them as the HQ, maybe spend resources on upgrading them, but they take too much damage as they land. So now you can repair them back up, makes it more appealing to use as a forward headquarters. Speaking of that, the HQ glider is also receiving a change here. Now its cost has been reduced to 200, but it doesn't come with a squad of commandos inside it. But from it, you can now train machine guns, AT guns, and commandos. So slightly changing the role here, making it a little bit less of an overlap with the commando glider, and a little bit more focused on being a forward headquarters, combining with the repair change there. So we'll look at the revised forward logistics glider. Here you can see it, 200 manpower. Try drop it on some obstacles. Hopefully it doesn't get destroyed, but we can repair it up with these guys at the ready. See the functionality of that. So here it is deployed, and you can train commandos, Vickers, and 6-pounders. You can also repair it. Check if you need to be connected. Yeah, you have to be connected to be able to train units out of it. We'll try and get some repairs going on it. There we go. Looks like they have to run over to this side. Maybe this side's blocked by the wing or the terrain there. So it looks like it's maybe slightly awkward for engineers to repair it. Maybe the positioning is quite tricky to get to. But yeah, you can repair it. But yeah, you have to be in connected friendly territory to train units from it. So be aware of that. The British M5 command point requirements on this are going up from 2 to 3. The issue here was that 2 command points was kind of just dominating Ostheer in 1v1. It's just too tricky for them to deal with. 222 does not perform very well against the M5 and was kind of arriving at a very similar timing to this. So a slight nerf here, going up to the same command points as it is for US forces. But to somewhat offset that, similar to the changes that US forces received a couple patches ago, the British platoon and company command now grant half a command point upon completion. So you'll get to 3 command points a little bit earlier on, but you'll get the quad still a little bit later. But yeah, similar to US forces, you get a little bit of extra command points when you tech. Same story with Ostheer and Soviets when they build their tech structures. They also get some command points when they tech. So kind of standardizing that for all factions now. Assault sections, their Vet 3 weapon accuracy is being reduced slightly from 40% to 30%. They were deemed a little bit too strong at Vet 3. Tank Hunter Tommies are getting a new upgrade here. They can now replace their Boys AT rifles with Piets for 70 munitions. So it's a discount. Piets usually cost 50 each, so it'll be 100. You're getting a 30 discount using this upgrade. But in this case, the Piet upgrade also removes the out of cover penalty to cooldown and reload. So they'll fire their Piets at full speed even when out of cover. So they are going to perform better than just regular Tommies picking Piets out of the racks, which is nice. And yeah, this will give Tank Hunter Tommies a little bit more scaling in the late game. It'll give you another reason to go for Tank Hunter Tommies on top of that 5-man default upgrade that we saw earlier on, because unlike guards, their anti-infantry doesn't scale very well into the late game, so now the anti-tank will. Now we're moving on to Ostheer. The Puma is having its tech requirements removed. Previously was behind Battle Phase 2, and with the tech requirements that we saw changing in the earlier versions of this patch, kind of made the Puma even more inaccessible than it was before, or really kind of pushed out of the meta. So it's now going down to 5 command points to be unlocked from the headquarters, but it's going to have a build time. So it's going to be different to the mobile defense meta of old because of the build time. You won't be able to just panic call it in. We'll kind of slow it down even further by having to build it. You won't be able to panic call one in response to particular game state. Maybe you see like a wounded enemy light vehicle and you panic call in the Puma to pounce on it. It's not going to be the case. You're going to have to decide to go for it, which is going to slow it down. And also nowadays the command tank is also behind tech, so you won't be able to just like completely skip tech, save on resources, maybe go for like light vehicles into Pumas, into command tanks. There's going to be quite a lot more teching involved if you want to go for that kind of strategy. So certainly this is going to be a lot worse than compared to when mobile defense was running the meta, but it still could be very good. You know, the Ostheer Flamer half-track is a very potent anti-infantry light vehicle backed up by a Puma with smoke is just still going to be quite a strong option, but mobile defense was almost used by nobody at this stage, so this getting a buff, maybe it'll come back into the meta. And then finally a bug fix, the air landing officer can now enter buildings again. Moving on to the version 1.3 changes, generalist medium tanks. In order to make generalist medium tanks more viable in the current meta, their durability is being increased by lowering their target size, making them more difficult to hit. These changes should reduce the chance to get hit by 7 to 10% on medium to far ranges. Example, an 88% chance to get hit now becomes an 80% chance to get hit. These changes will not apply to tank destroyers and other specialist vehicles based on a medium tank chassis. Units like the Sherman Firefly and the Bulldozer Sherman will remain the same due to their role. So we've seen that medium tanks are kind of crowded out of the meta game at the moment, largely because AA T-guns at the moment are so strong against them. If you make one small mistake with your medium tank, you run into AA T-guns, you lose it, and that's that, you lose the game very often, especially with heavy tank stalls with AA T-guns aiding the stall was becoming a real issue. So now, maybe if you run into AA T-guns, you've got a higher chance of one of the 4 shots missing and your medium tank getting away. Couldn't really change AT guns because they seem to perform pretty reasonably against light vehicles and heavy tanks. It's just medium tanks that were really getting punished here. So hopefully this will make medium tanks a little bit more viable again. So the Panzer IV is going down from 22 to 20. The Shermans are going down from 23 to 21. And the T-34s are going down from 22 to 20. The Cromwell already had a small target size. I think it was 20. It got changed a couple of patches ago, not that long ago. But because now it's losing its comparative advantage, it's getting a machine gun boost. This was a very common complaint. The machine guns on the Cromwell were terrible, kind of relying on those main gun hits. And if you got bad RNG, very often you just couldn't wipe a squad on retreat if you just kept missing. Say you flanked an AT gun, you got a couple unlucky shots, you wouldn't decrew the AT gun. Kind of made the Cromwell not fully able to exploit its high mobility because, in those flanking situations on infantry, just wasn't performing that well. So now it's getting machine gun boost to be similar to a Panzer IV without the Pinto upgrade. Now take a look at the Cromwell with the revised machine gun. We'll see if we can notice any differences here. Here's the time to kill. Yeah, you can notice that is a big difference in the machine gun potency. That is like very, very noticeable. In terms of time to kill, that is much, much better. So yeah, definitely a noticeable buff to the machine gun on the Cromwell. Onto US forces, the M36 Jackson is getting a slight tweak to its armor here, going down from 130 to 110. What this means is that the Panzer IV will be able to penetrate it at 40 range, its maximum range. So now the Panzer IV is a 100% chance to penetrate the Jackson. Won't get those frustrating moments where the Jackson bounces a shot and it's already got a very low chance to bounce, which can make a difference in those engagements. A lot of people complain that the Jackson's a little bit too strong, and this should make medium tanks a little bit better against the Jackson. And now for the Pershing, it's getting similar changes to the IS-2 and the Tiger, reducing the near and mid damage slightly to reduce its one-shot wipe potential. Checking on the AOE of the Pershing here, see how it fares after the nerfs. Pretty good start. Okay, so to my eyes, the Pershing does seem to be better than the Tiger in terms of per shot. The Pershing seems to have a slower rate of fire. But yeah, per hit, the Pershing is definitely better than the Tiger, very noticeable. And I don't know, I haven't been playing against the Pershing that often recently. So maybe my experience on how good it is in the live version compared to the patch is a bit distorted, but it still does seem to be pretty strong, but yeah, not crazy lethal anymore. But yeah, per shot definitely a lot better than the Tiger. I can notice that much. Alright, now the Pershing versus some clump squads. So yeah, I do think I notice it more in the clumped squad test here. A bit of a nerf. But yeah, as you can see there, can still get some pretty big hits. Still going to be pretty strong, but yeah, maybe now after that test I can notice the slight decrease there in the near damage. Ostheer, Grenadiers, the reinforcement cost is being reverted, that change. It's going back from 28 to 30, so same as is in live, but there are some changes to tier 4, which we might as well cover now. Now, when you get tier 4, the heavy Panzer Corps, it will provide that same boost. Grenadiers, Pioneers, and Osttrooper will all get reinforcement cost reductions by 2, so that's a pretty big deal. On top of that, team weapons will also get their reinforcement costs decreased by 10%, and will increase the capture and decapture rate of all Ostheer units by 25%, so they'll be able to cap faster. So those are a lot of changes, kind of making Heavy Panzer Corps like a lot more appealing. Maybe you want to tick this even if you don't want one of the heavy vehicles from that tick structure. There's quite a lot of bonuses here. There have been quite a lot of complaints about maybe this being too strong, and word on the street is that this will probably be reduced to 15%, and also it will not stack with commander abilities that affect capture and decapture rates, so you don't have to worry about super quick capture and decapture when stacking this with commander abilities. That won't be possible, and yeah, this will also probably go down to around 15%. But yeah, Heavy Panzer Corps getting a big change here, reduce the bleed on Ostheer in the late game. Similar to maybe, like Hammer or Anvil giving bonuses to Brits. Heavy Panzer Corps now gives some bonuses to Ostheer in the late game. So now a demonstration of the Ostheer Tier 4 changes. Note that I am Battle Phase 3 right now, but as you can see here, Grenadiers still costing 30 to reinforce. Fires 25, Team Weapons 22. So you can't just go Battle Phase 3, you have to put the Tier 4 down to do that, and that, remember, costs less now. So the Battle Phase 3 tech costs more. The putting the tech structure itself down doesn't cost any fuel anymore. Got it on power speed ups, so we can get this going quicker. And now, as you can see here, reinforcement's gone down by 2. Similar story here for Grenadiers, now at 28, and same story for the pack here, also going down by 2, same with the MG42. So yeah, that's a look at the revision. You have to have the Heavy Panzer Corps down, you can't just tick Battle Phase 3. The OKW Command Tiger is getting a change here, same Vet 2 turret traverse as we saw earlier, but now the Command Tiger accuracy penalty during the Command Tiger ability is being removed. So because now it can't get the Panzer Commander upgrade, trying to reinforce its role as a command vehicle. Panzer Fusiliers are getting a change here. Their Vet 2 AT grenade range boost is being removed. I don't think any other units got a AT grenade range boost with veterancy, and this just made the AT grenade range like so insane. Made Fusiliers really hard to kite with vehicles, so I'm glad that's getting changed. And also a very good change here, the Fusilier grenades were not triggering grenade warnings, so that will now be fixed as well. So because as well earlier in this patch the grenades getting buffed really good, that they will trigger grenade warnings now. Change here to the Sturmtiger. You'll now be able to call in both the Sturmtiger and the Keen Tiger at the same time. They won't lock each other out, so it's a nice change. Sturmtiger being a little bit more viable now, especially in this commander where the King Tiger with the Panzer Commander upgrade can be quite appealing. You now won't lock that out by going for the Sturmtiger, so maybe we'll see a little bit more play from the Sturmtiger. The IR half track is getting its sight range increased when set up from 70 to 80, so it's going to see even further now. It's going to be quite strong. And finally, for Soviets conscripts, the 7-man upgrade, mobilized reserves, the reinforcement cost reduction is going down from 3 to 2. So this means the reinforcement cost is going up from 17 to 18. A lot of top players thought maybe this could be removed outright, the reinforcement cost bonus. But, just a slight tweak here, increase the bleed on Soviet conscripts because these were trading very, very well. The 7-man upgrade thought of as too strong by a lot of top players. So another slight tweak here on top of the reload nerf and cover that we saw earlier on in this patch. A special thank you goes out to my Patreon backers who make the production of these long form videos possible.